Kaler,
Here.
Hannum,
Here.
Lewis, Mitchell,
Here.
Moon. We have a quorum.
I'll now ask for the emergency announcement to be read, please.
Before we get started, let me read the emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you've reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles.
This time I'll ask if there's any public input on items on the agenda. Seeing none, item D, the minutes are in your packet that need approval from the April 11th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Declare the motion passed. Adjustment, increases and decreases. E1 amendments, E1A, general county, other general administrative, $250,000 to adjust the trustee fees and commissions due to increase in property taxes. Go ahead and get it on the floor. I'll ask for a motion. Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Now I ask Randy, will you explain that?
Yes. We failed to include as a part of the budget that we asked Commission to consider the impact of the property tax on discounts on property tax, the commission that we charge through the trustee's office or that office charges, and then the excess fees that come back to the county that are over and above what he needs to operate his budget. So the effect of this transaction is we would increase the appropriation in account 51900 called Trustees Commission by $250,000, and that is offset by an increase in revenue in line 456100 called excess fees by the trustee of $400,000. So it's a gain of $150,000 net effect.
Have any questions, comments, any discussion? I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kaler,
Yes.
Hannum,
Yes.
Lewis, Mitchell,
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, next item up, general county, other administrative, $66,200 for the purchase of Lucas devices. Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Is there any questions or discussion on this?
Which agencies will be receiving the Lucas device?
Katie, would you come up, please? Explain what this is.
The 7 fire departments, Townsend currently has a device. Rural Metro will supply one to Seymour, and the other 4 will go to Alcoa, Maryville, Friendsville, and Blount County Fire.
Okay. Any other questions or? Okay. All right. Is there any other questions or discussion? Go ahead.
Just to make certain everybody is aware, these are to be purchased out of the fines that have been assessed, and we have already received $83,000 or $84,000. This is only appropriating $66,200 of that.
Is there any other questions or comments? I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kaler,
Abstain.
Hannum,
Yes.
Lewis, Mitchell,
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item E1C, courthouse and jail maintenance, courthouse security project. I'll have a motion to send this on.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Is there questions or discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kaler,
Yes.
Hannum,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Highway Department, $186,662.48. This is a fourth quarter adjustment to establish a 98.2% split for state aid reimbursement programs. Do I hear a motion to send this on?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kaler,
Yes.
Hannum,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
E1E, general purpose schools, $30,000 for football stadium lights and poles at Heritage and William Blount High School. The bid price came in $30,000 higher than we had established by the commission. Do I hear a motion to send this on to the commission?
Move to send it forward, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any questions or discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kaler,
Yes.
Hannum,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item E1F, Education Capital Project, $80,000, fourth quarter adjustments to align with projected revenues. Do I hear a motion to send this on to the full agenda, full commission?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any questions or discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kaler,
Yes.
Hannum,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving on to item F, discussion and possible action for fiscal year 16-17 budget. At this time, I'll recognize Randy for an explanation here, please.
If you will notice in your packet, and this is on page 11, just as a refresher, the mayor is required by statute to present what his estimates of the value of a penny are. And just for full disclosure, reminding everyone that the budget that we've been discussing is predicated on a penny being valued at $327,500 per penny. Also, we are proposing no change in this budget proposal that we've discussed in the allocation of the property tax rate. We're still proposing general county at 88 cents, general purpose schools at $1.07, debt service at 48 cents, and education capital projects at 4 cents. So the tax rate would remain at $2.47 per $100 of assessed valuation. And then we have, for what ultimately would go to the commission, we make an assessment of revenues that we're expected to generate in each fund, and you can set appropriations at a level lower than that, but they can't exceed this because these are the best estimates that we have available to us. What you're looking at on the screen is what our revenue projections are for fiscal 17, starting with general county at Fund 101. We're estimating revenues to be at $49,372,318. Fund 112, we're estimating $190,970. all the way down to library fund of Fund 115, $2,320,486. The highway fund at $6,268,000. And that is a slight increase from what we talked about at our meeting 2 weeks ago. From a maintenance of effort standpoint, we think we are going to generate more sales tax revenue, local revenues, which is the driver for maintenance of effort calculation. We've discussed that with Highway Superintendent. They're comfortable with that estimate. Debt service fund, we're estimating revenues in Fund 151 at $18,635,000. And then we have two capital project funds, 177 and 189. These would be appropriations of what we think the remaining appropriation that Commission has already approved. These would be, from a cash flow perspective, what we expect to spend next fiscal year. And then you have the school funds, 141. We're estimating the revenues is provided by the school, through the school board of $89,150,000. Fund 142 at $6,016,900. Fund 143 at $6,050,000, and Fund 146 at $1,698,000. These would all, if you approve, all of these would be included as part of the resolution that County Commission would consider. The remaining funds are all internal service funds. They're not subject to appropriation by Commission. These are funds that we're required to maintain to carry out the business of the county. Fund 263, 64, and 66 are internal service funds that deal with our insurance programs. And then funds 351 through 365 are trustee accounts where he's distributing money to the schools and the other governments in the county. So those are the revenue estimates in total. And then this is the spreadsheet that we have slightly revised since our meeting 2 weeks ago. And this has the allocation of appropriations as well as the revenue numbers that I just read off. But obviously you can't appropriate more than what you think you're going to bring in. So that's why I wanted to talk about revenues first. If you look at line 51600, Register of Deeds, that has been reduced to $599,835 based on an employee who was retiring. We now have more concrete information, and that appropriation request has been reduced to that number. We also have in the Circuit Court Clerk, that's a slight change of $2,256,238. We are reallocating some money to the judicial commissioners' operating expenses. Then you go down to the judicial commissioners and you see that appropriation is $233,044, and that reflects the increase for their operating expenses associated with the judicial commissioners. Then the next line, which is Other Administration of Justice, the premise behind most of these changes that we'll discuss next is we made a commitment we would adhere to the guidelines of the class compensation study that Commission adopted, and that we would plug in one-step increases for our employees who had a satisfactory job performance evaluation, and that increase would be 1.84%. And then whatever associated benefit costs are related to that. So all of these appropriations that I'm about to go over next would reflect that, as well as all those above. They just didn't happen to change. So in administration, other administration of justice, $536,142. The Sheriff's Department, which is predominantly patrol, is $11,618,864. On the next page, jail is $8,750,487. 2 lines down on juvenile services, $1,678,018. And if you'll drop down to the veterans line, which is account 58300 for veteran services, that appropriation is $183,953. And then in the last line called transfers out, in meeting with our broker about what, if any, changes we may see in the medical inflation area, they have suggested that we need to probably look at something around 5%, which amounts to about $450,000. In addition, we've talked now for 2 years about the need for a wellness program, and my understanding is that the Insurance Committee is going to be addressing that in an upcoming meeting. We wanted to make sure we had some money allocated to implement that program, and that estimate is $150,000. So we have put that funding in a transfer account. In the event we need it, it can come back to this body for specific appropriation depending on how the HR Insurance Committee wants to address it. And if it's not needed, then it won't be spent. But the need is to address it now in the budget planning process, because if it happens mid-year and we've not made a provision for it, the Comptroller's Office will not allow us to make equity transfers of fund balance from any operating fund to the insurance fund. I left one out. All of those changes that I've mentioned are reflections of what I would call administrative adjustments that have been made either to comply with the class comp study or office holders who have turned in requests, revised requests, which they have the authority to do under, or make those requests before May 15. The one line on criminal court / recovery court, which is line 50 or count 53,200 on the first page, recommendation is for a $466,580 appropriation. That would encompass an increase in funding for them of $87,332, which gives them 2 additional full-time people and a significant enough funding to fund for a full year a part-time position that they have for this year. And based on my conversations with you all individually, there was a consensus that you wanted to see us make the efforts necessary from an operating standpoint to start to address further some of our overcrowding situation in our jail. So all of those changes are in the general fund, and that appropriation would be $49,372,007. And I gave you the revenue numbers earlier, and then page 3 has the appropriations that would be recommended unless there are changes here tonight that would go on to the full commission if there is a recommendation from the body tonight. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have to say.
Are there any questions or discussion? What we have proposed before us is a balanced budget with no tax increase, and it still allows us to increase our financial position in debt service fund in keeping with our debt management policy. Do I hear a motion to send this on to the commission? I have a motion to send this on. Do I have a second?
So, second, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions?
Question on general purpose schools, is that in order, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir. Do you want to discuss any on that, Randy?
Yes, the recommendation in front of you would be to fund them at a level of $89,150,000 in the General Purpose School Fund 141. That is the revenue estimate that the school system has provided us. In addition, the Federal Projects Fund 142 is $6,016,900. Cafeteria Fund 143 is $6,050,000. and the Extended Care Fund 146 is $1,698,000. Those are all revenues that would cover a corresponding amount of appropriation. And just for the record, that is less money than was requested by the school board.
Has a BEP number come in yet?
Yes. It is in this number of $89,150,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I do want to say that I appreciate this committee's due diligence on putting this balanced budget together, and the fact that additional and supplemental requests and reimbursements that were eliminated would have created an 11-cent tax increase. By reducing them and eliminating them, though, we have been able to put together this balanced budget with no tax increase. So I have a motion and a second. I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Kaler.
Yes.
Hannum.
Yes.
Lewis. Mitchell.
Yes.
Moon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we will prepare resolutions that reflect what's on this spreadsheet, both for appropriations, and there'll be a full packet that will be forwarded on to the full commission of what you have available to you, what's available to this body.
Thank you. Item G is finance reports only. Recovery Court, 70,000, that's reoccurring. At this time, I'll ask for any input on items not on the agenda.